Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of been going on the subject of a lot of things for the upcoming midterm election cycle. There's been this call to gerrymander. When Trump asked Texas, "Can you find me 5 more seats?" You don't normally do that mid census because the census happens 2010, 2020, you know. So it's at the beginning of every decade. And that's how we find out how to reapportion districts. Whether the districts need to shrink, grow. That's part of the Constitution. But gerrymandering is not. But it's been around almost as long. And the idea is to twist and shape the district so they can get you what you want. However many people, however many constituents, so you can have more districts in your favor. So again, not part of the Constitution, but it's been around almost as long. And just to give you an example of some of the insane gerrymanders, I pulled up a list here from Ranker. Continue without disabling, thank you. Maryland's 3rd District. Yeah. Look at this. This whole little twisted thing here is one district. One. Now, this was an older version. It's not. I don't think it any longer looks like this, because, like I said, they're always reapportioned. But as long as they are somewhat connected, so coastline connects, and then you have this little pathway. It's insane how it's shaped. This Massachusetts 7th. Now, again, these are districts. Don't mean they are anymore. But yeah. Look at this. Around and around, stick outs here, a little bit of islands because you're on the coast. Pennsylvania 7th. Look at this thing. We ski barely through, and we're back in here. Florida's 5th. More or less all along the top edge of the state with little outlets here. It's like, come on now. Utah's 4th, kind of just stuck up in the middle of the state, because the borders are over here and over here. Because this gives you a look at the whole state, which, yeah, just why? Louisiana's 2nd. I mean, seriously. Why not just make a square district off the edge? Now again, a lot of these districts have been redrawn and redrawn and redrawn. But yeah, the Texas 35th outside of Houston. Houston's right here, so see, I guess San Antonio would be below, somewhere in that direction. But yeah, just this little, like someone wiped their butt with that section of Texas, and it's using as a row of toilet paper. You got that little streak of poop. Illinois 4th, because it's like, look at this. I mean, like I said, these are just some examples. They're not even the full plethora. They're not. This is just examples of how they've stood out before. Because, like I said, these districts are not even looking like this anymore. But yeah. And it's the kind of BS that America's put through because you have a two-party system that is all about helping these two parties. Not the people, but the two parties. And it's why gerrymandering shouldn't exist in the first place. But it does. And it's come to the forefront because they're trying to push it as a way to try to hold power. And it never should have came to this. But yeah, both parties have a history of gerrymandering. This is from Visual Capitalist. States given a poor score for partisan fairness on the redistricting postcard or report card by party advantage. Most often, it will be Republican states who do it. Yeah. You look at the list here. F, 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 F. Overall score and the way they draw districts. And the great majority, Republican. There's 2 Democrat states with Fs, Nevada and Illinois. And then we give you 3 Ds, 2 Democrat states and a Republican. But yeah, the great majority tends to be Republican. A lot of states we think of as Republican would actually be a much closer mix if things weren't gerrymandered. It's just, yeah. When electoral maps are drawn for political advantage, as happens with gerrymandering because we have a two-party system. So it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The result is often less responsive government. Safe seats encourage political extremism, reduce bipartisan compromise, and weaken the connection between constituents and their elected officials. That's where we're at right now. Over time, this erodes trust in democratic institutions, a problem that public opinion surveys suggest many Americans already feel keenly. So yeah. But both parties have been guilty of it. Republicans, more often than not, are the guilty party, but Democrats do have their own issues of having done it in the past. So yeah. State by state guide. Uh, bu- bu- yeah. What puts a state at risk of gerrymandering? Policy experts examined the redistricting laws on the books as of 2021 using the 5 key threat criteria. Again, this article is from represent.us.us. 1. Can politicians control how the election maps are drawn? In many states, politicians who stand to benefit from gerrymandering are the ones in charge of drawing and approving voting maps. When states let incumbent officials oversee redistricting, they increase their risk of gerrymandering. Can election maps be drawn in secret? The public deserves to see how their communities are being divvied up. The less transparency and citizen input, the easier it is for politicians to skew maps in their favor. Now, here's something I want to point out. I've tried to throw out there before. Let's draw maps in blocks, in square blocks. You can still redistrict, shrink, grow the block, but the less gerrymandered, when they're just blocks, the better. Because it's a less bullshittery, if you will. Can election maps be rigged for partisan gain? Both Democrats and Republicans have proven very guilty of gerrymandering, and this is why checks and balances are essential to the redistricting process. Maps should require independent and cross-partisan approval. States are at a higher risk for gerrymandering if just one party is in charge of redistricting. Yep. And remember, this is supposed to last for 10 years, but if you have crybaby bitches that push to try to get it done mid-census period, like we got right now, this is the bullshit we have to fucking look at. Are the legal standards weak? Placing legal constraints and criteria on map drawing can deter gerrymandering. States can require map makers to keep geographical communities together, which lowers risk by preventing partisan abuse and radicalized voter disenfranchisement. And yeah, gerrymandering has been used to gain advantage, to displace voters so they won't affect how you do things, to disenfranchise voters. It was used as a big part of Jim Crow bullshit. Are rigged election maps hard to challenge in court? If there are concerns about the map, citizens should be able to challenge the district lines in court. A number of states make it almost impossible to change maps once they've been drawn. Yeah, because they don't want the people to have the ability to change these things. 27 states are at extreme threat of rigged maps. Means they are under threat that they may try to gerrymander it to keep the opposing party out of power. Which again, we're supposed to have more than 2 fucking parties because this is one of the most populous, or it was, democracies in the world. But the states we're looking at: Alabama, Arkansas, Delaware, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. They're all at extreme level threats of gerrymander. High threat, not as high as extreme, but still under duress of potential gerrymander. Alaska, Connecticut, Florida, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oregon, Vermont. Moderate threat, so kind of in the middle here, 2 states, Maine and Pennsylvania. Lower threat of rigged maps, Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Virginia. And minimal threat, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Michigan, Washington. So yeah, and why it matters. Gerrymandering is about to get a lot worse in the next decade if we don't act now. After this year, we won't have another chance to redistrict fairly until 2030. So this was probably written in 2020. It's not even looking at the BS going on right now with California and Texas. 2023 was when it was updated. It was probably written okay, so September 2021. It was at the early part of the decade, just a few years ago. But yeah. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to happen again until the 10-year period was up, which would have been 2030. But it's a mid-decade call to redraw maps because the pussies in power, President Pedophile and his pedo pals, want to maintain power. But yeah, it's ridiculous. The gerrymander itself is named after this man, Elbridge Gerry. Yes, his name is actually pronounced Gary instead of Jerry, but of course it became gerrymander. But he was the 9th governor of Massachusetts, the 5th vice president under James Madison. Remember, you've got Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and then I think Madison. Yeah. So, yeah. He was a member of the United States House of Representatives for Massachusetts' 3rd District, the first one to hold that district because constituency established. A member of the Congress of the Confederation from Massachusetts, member of the Continental Congress from Massachusetts. So yeah, one of the early founding fathers in U.S. history. He was there from the moment of before Revolution and everything. So, and even he died in office as vice president. But yeah. Elbridge Gerry, who gerrymandering is named after, because when they were reapportioning a district, they said it looked like a salamander, which they tacked his name on, and it became a gerrymander. Yeah, during his second term, I think while he was still governor of Massachusetts, the legislature approved new state senate districts that led to the coining of the word gerrymander. So yeah, it's him that this is named after. But yeah, it's something we need to put an end to, so it can be used, no longer be used to try to gain advantage from doing stupid districts. Block draw your districts. That's how it should be done. And then you can shrink or grow the district depending on how population goes. Now, not all districts are going to be perfectly square. Many of the states have weird borders things, especially more in the east. Just the way they're drawn. The West will be really easy. A lot of states are just blocks themselves. Colorado, Wyoming, and then you've got some that are majority blocky, like Utah, and you've got North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas. They're very blocky. So a lot in the West is not going to be as bad. East, I understand it'll be a little more difficult, but you can still draw and block. So yeah, this is something that needs to happen, because with the stupidity of Texas and California, and like I said, President Pedophile pushing this BS, this is where we're headed. More stupidity. Anyway. Hopefully, there can be something that's eventually done about this. And like I said, you know, we need more parties anyway. The fact that we've got just this two-party system and what's supposed to be the most populist democracy, like I said, I don't even know if we can call ourselves a democracy anymore with the way things have been done. But yeah. We need a more representative government for us. We need to end the partisan BS. We need to release the Epstein files. Yeah. Just a lot of things need to be done. But with that, we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.